Hey guys, welcome back to Hanging Out with Lori. How are you? I hope you guys are doing well, that you're safe, that you're healthy, that your friends and family are doing well. Also, today is the Birthstone Collab that I do with some beautiful ladies over at the Birthstone Collab group. And that is Andrea, Nona, Sherry, Kimberley, Jammie, Tara, Tracy. I'm hoping I got everyone. I think that's all. Anyways, every month we do a look based off of that month's birthstone. And of course, this is July. And the birthstone for July is a ruby, or at least it is now. To give you a little backstory about birthstones, they each have a unique meaning and historical significance to them, and the popularity of the birthstone dates back to ancient times when civilizations believed that gemstones had incredible powers such as luck or health, prosperity. And traditionally, each month has one birthstone. But there are a few months that have multiple stones. For instance, June has 3. But traditionally, it is 1. But the birthstones that we know of today aren't necessarily the same birthstones that were used in ancient times. They didn't necessarily see the same ones because in ancient times they weren't off of the stone so much as they were off of the color of a gemstone. For example, a ruby and a garnet, there was no differentiation between the two. It was just that red gemstone. So that's kind of interesting that if we were living in ancient days, we would not specifically be looking at a ruby as the birthstone for July. The American Gem Society has set the birthstones for more modern days, I guess you could say. According to what I found, between the 15th and 20th century, the July birthstone was the onyx and turquoise. But as of 2019, the US has specified ruby as the birthstone for July. But I know it's been the birthstone for much longer than just 2019, but I don't know how far back the ruby has been like the main squeeze birthstone for July. That I don't know. I just know that as of 2019, here in the US, the ruby is the birthstone. So I thought about doing a look using onyx or turquoise to kind of honor the past birthstones, the birthstones of earlier days. But I decided to go with a ruby, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with my look, to be honest with you. So I went through my collection to see if I had anything that was labeled as a ruby. I had 2 eyeshadows, and then I had a cheek product. I think it's a highlighter for deep skin, and it is described as a ruby, and so I decided to center my look around this one product, and this is Nobla's Adults Only, and it is described as a ruby, and it is absolutely stunning. That is what it looks like. Very pretty, very rich, and so I decided this was going to be the focal point of my look. Where we go from here is anybody's guess, but this is my main squeeze. So I'm just kind to kind of dive in, talk, and we'll see how this look progresses. I am going to take this shade right here and put it in my transition. It's from my Cargo HD Illuminating palette. So the ruby is one of the most coveted gems that there is. Some of the adjectives to describe the ruby is passionate, deep, bold. It's captivating with this really rich red color that truly does stand out. It is desirable because it is hard. Its hardness is second to the diamond. It's durable. It has a beautiful luster, and it's rare. The ruby represents love, passion, courage, and emotion. It is said to provide energy, emotional strength, focus, a positive attitude, and self-reliance. It has been called the stone of love by some. The rich color of the ruby, that really deep, rich red, is associated with power and desire. I mean, if you think about it, you know, Valentine's Day, we usually have a really rich red, sometimes pink, but red is more associated with Valentine's Day. Power, men wear red ties to show a more powerful presence, a strength. Women will wear a red lip to show confidence and tenacity and power, and an internal strength as well. Rubies have been the prized possession of emperors and kings throughout the ages, and I would say that they continue to be prized possession for, you know, kings, emperors, the rich. Rubies adorn crowns of royalty and precious antiquities of many civilizations, not just ancient times, but like I said, of today. Okay, this is not showing up, so I'm moving to this bronzer here. The name ruby is derived from the Latin word ruber, which means red. The ruby to date is still considered the most valuable gemstone, or valued, excuse me. And the Sanskrit word for ruby is Ratnaraj, which means king of gems. That just sends a chill down my spine. I don't know why it sends a chill down my spine, but it does. It's like somehow they knew that this gem would always be of high value, of high worth, of high want. So yes, it gives me the chills. Okay, I'm going to take the smaller brush. It's stained, but it's clean. And I am going to go in with Adults Only. I'm going to start building it up on the outer V. The composition of a ruby is actually a red sapphire. That kind of floored me. I had to read that multiple times because I was like, what? A ruby is a variety of mineral corundums. Its color comes from trace amounts of the element chromium. And the more chromium that is in the stone, the stronger the color red is. I kept working on my makeup as my neighbor sat in her vehicle until she left. I just kept working on my look. So that's why it's a little further along than it was when I last was speaking to you. So what I was saying is the mineral chromium is what gives the ruby its red coloring. but the makeup itself of the stone, the chemical makeup, is the same as a sapphire. If a ruby and a sapphire are the same composition other than the mineral that makes the color different, why are they classified separately? And why is ruby its own gemstone? I mean, when you think about it, they're the same stone, really, right? So why are they classified separately? Well, I have the answer for you. Sometimes I don't have the answer, but I do today. The reason why a ruby is classified separate from a sapphire has nothing to do with its composition. It has to do with the fact that the ruby is very appealing, extremely appealing. Very is not a strong enough word. Is extremely appealing to people, and it has an impressive historical significance. So that is why it is classified on its own. A large ruby can fetch a higher price than a diamond of equal size. That's how in demand rubies are. High quality rubies. Okay, I'm going to take Paradox by ColourPop, and I am going to just darken up adults only. So there's many beliefs that go along with the ruby. In ancient India, the ruby was called the king of precious stones. Why it was called the king of precious stones is because of its rarity, hardness, beauty, and seemingly mystical powers. The Indian belief was that the ruby was associated with the life force blood. It's the symbol of power and youthful energy. I may regret putting red in the corner of my eye. Oh well. We're going for it all the same. Past centuries believed that the ruby could predict misfortune or danger. There were others who claimed that it could cure inflammatory diseases and soothe anger. Burmese warriors believed that the ruby made them invincible in battle. And medieval Europeans believed that wearing a fine ruby brought them good fortune, health, wisdom, and success in love. So you can't blame them for wanting to put rubies all over themselves, on their jewelry, on their antiquities, their vases, their dishes, their chairs. So you can't blame them. And like I talked about today, you see the ruby still playing out in as kind of a talisman, if you will, with the red lipstick or red pumps or red tie. Even on video games, the life force is found to be a red heart or a red shade on a lot of games. So we may say we're not superstitious, and yet we still have talismans that come down from long-held beliefs from all different cultures around the world. Who hasn't worn a red tie or a red lipstick to show a little confidence, a little power, a little self-projection of strength? Who hasn't done that? I have, and I rarely wear red lipstick. I'm going to take the Nubian palette, just because it happens to be on my desk, and I'm going to take this brown shade here and just lightly, ever so lightly, dust it up here. I just need some color. I could see the brown, and then once I put my started building up my red. I couldn't see it anymore. So one of the oldest recorded sources of rubies, and we're talking fine rubies and not cheap glass rubies. I guess that would be from someone's oven, right? Well, a company's oven. But anyways, the first, not the first, but one of the oldest recorded is in Myanmar, which is also known as Burma, or it was formerly called Burma. It was more than 5 centuries ago that they found rubies in the Mogok area of Myanmar, and that area produces some of the most sought after rubies. And this is a region where you find weathered marble and Buddhist temples. So in my humble opinion, it's a very blessed area. In the 20th century, they started to mine rubies in Vietnam. And the most recent area where fine rubies are being found is in Mozambique. And the rubies in Mozambique are being compared to the famed rubies of the Mogok region in Myanmar. The color of a ruby is its most important feature because that's what makes it a ruby. They often heat treat rubies to remove the purple coloration that a ruby naturally has to give it a pure red hue, but they naturally come with a purple/blue hue to them. And rubies can range from a purplish and bluish red to an orange red. The brightest, the most colorful ruby, the most valuable ruby is called a Burmese ruby. It is described as being a rich, passionate, hot, full red color with a slight blue hue. Now, the Burmese ruby has another name as well, and it is called a pigeon's blood ruby. So the pigeon's blood ruby is only associated with the Mogok region of Myanmar. If that type of inclusion is found there anywhere else, they're not considered a pigeon's blood. Just FYI. And the pigeon blood ruby, the red color of it, is not associated with the color of pigeon's blood. Some people think it is. It is not. Why it has that name is because the color of the pigeon blood ruby is like the white pigeon's eye color. So that's how it got its name. Not from blood. Not literally from blood. So I said I didn't know where I was going with this look, and it's true. I have no idea. But I pulled up a picture of raw rubies. They definitely are red. They have purple. They have a really deep purple vein running through them. Some of them are kind of pink, which would be because they don't have enough chromium to make them red. So that makes sense. But the darker and richer in color rubies, raw rubies, have a purple hue. So I am going to take Dream Lover. It's a Super Shock Shadow by ColourPop, and it is gorgeous. It's red with this purple shift to it. Can you see that? So this is what it looks like. It's red and purple. So I am actually going to put that in the center of my eye. I tried to keep it as empty as possible, but I didn't do the best job. All right, let me go do the rest of my face, and I will be right back to wrap up July's Birthstone collab video. All right, so this is my final look, red lip and all. I can't believe I did a red lip. And I didn't realize how pink my lid looked until I put on this lip. But it doesn't look pink in the mirror. It's just on camera that it looks pink. So this is my final look for the Birthstone Beauties collab for July. It's all right. Make sure you go check out the others, see what their look is, what they chose to do, how they chose to interpret the ruby, or maybe they did onyx or turquoise, one of the ancient stones. You never know. Go check them out and see what they did. Please take good care, be safe, be smart, and I will talk to you soon.